Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Ralph. Welcome to Ralph's Pound for Pound Breakdown here on this beautiful Monday, July 31st. We're going to go ahead and be talking about UFC 214 that just happened here on Saturday. What a fucking card. Talk about some really good fights, some really good stuff that happened. Everything came to fruition. We finally got to see Daniel Cormier, Jon Jones 2 happen at 205 pounds. Daniel didn't have a towel in front of him. He didn't have, even had his hands up at the weigh-in. He came in exactly at 205. Not only that, he was the first person to come up and do the weigh-in on Friday. So, knowing how stingent the commission is here in California, you definitely got to give him props for going out just showing right away, hey, I'm weighing in right. I want this to happen. No problems, no bullshit. So, cheers. What happened? How did it work out? Well, Daniel, what am I talking about? Daniel came out. He walks away. We're done. Jon Jones up next for the weigh-in. Comes in 204.5 pounds. Homeboy is fit, cut, chiseled like a goddamn piece of granite. He is perfect when it comes to a dude looking to make a comeback. Now, when you look at Jon Jones, what are you thinking with the weigh-in? Are you thinking, man, this guy looks amazing, but is he going to perform? I mean, you remember the St. Purdue fight he fought, coming at it, first fight back in the UFC, like, you know what, if he's going to fight Daniel Cormier, the current champ at that time, he's definitely going to have his hands full with this fight. So seeing that fight, you didn't know what to expect. Jon Jones got on the scale, looked marvelous, and we get on to the fight. So next day, you got Jon Jones coming out second, first time he's ever come out second in the UFC since he was 23 years old when he won the belt. Now, looking at that, I mean, he was comfortable. Dude was very confident, had his brothers with him, had his whole family, said hello to them, walked into the cage, same way he does with the spider crawl, got on all fours right off the gate when the bell rang too, same as normal. You got Daniel Cormier coming out, great song he chose. Also, he looked confident. He looked like, you know what, I've got the blueprint for him. He's got the blueprint for me, but the difference is I'm going to press him. And a lot of people in this fight, the first round coming out the gate, you got Daniel Cormier just going after it. Jon Jones, a lot of the defense, Daniel wanted to start quick on Jon Jones and let him know I'm here, I'm ready to go. The fight was a back and forth brawl. I've watched it twice now. It's a great fight to keep watching. Daniel put the heat on him. I mean, I hear a lot of people saying that in the first round, people gave it to Daniel, people gave it to Jon. It's one of those toss-ups. But he did great. Daniel Cormier did amazing just coming right out of the gate. You're looking at a guy who wants to be champion, who wants to show I can beat this dude. Jon Jones used his length, used his reach, did some dirty boxing, got hit with some big shots actually, and took him. So seeing how he fought in the first round, it definitely wasn't a let me start warm-up. They both were in it. Jon Jones had everything that he always had from back in the day, didn't have any rust. Everybody's worried about ring rust. Everyone's worried how's he going to come out. Is he going to have what it takes to fight Daniel Cormier, 5 rounds, championship style? What's he got? And he came out and performed like a fucking racehorse. Second round, they come out after a good fight, and you're looking at a guy who Daniel Cormier just came after it again, man. He's out there throwing a lot of good punches. He's doing a lot of boxing. I thought I'd see a lot more wrestling out of him to try and clinch and take Jon down. He actually took Jon down once. I believe it was in the second round. Jon got right back up. Same with Jon, though. He took Daniel Cormier down. So, you know, that was kind of just his way of showing I could take you down, too. Nothing big. They both stood up again. And going into the third round, we're thinking, all right, we're going to see a brawl. This is fucking great, especially after the Woodley fight. We'll talk about that next. Looking at Jon Jones coming out in the third round, Daniel Cormier pressing him, pushing him backwards. Daniel's definitely his boxing is great. He's stepping in, getting inside the pocket to throw those the fists because he's a foot away from Jon Jones. So seeing that, he really worked his way into the center, which Jon was looking for both the takedown defense. Also, how do I keep this guy away from me because of the dirty boxing? So what's the outcome? Well, Jon Jones has been studying Daniel Cormier, and actually, if you remember 3 years ago, Jon Jones made a comment to Daniel about, you dip your head, and I'm going to head kick you. And Daniel Cormier says, that's not going to happen. You'll never kick me. You'll never head kick me. This is after the first fight. 3 years, and you got Mr. Cleo, Jon Jones, coming out talking about you're going to dip to your left, and I'm going to head kick you. And, dip to your right. And, that's exactly what happened. Daniel Cormier came out. Jon Jones worked the body. He went a little head, body. He kept throwing them long arm body shots. And you see Daniel just slowly moving his hand down to his side, trying to block that. Well, as soon as he throws it again, he blocks it. He comes back up, throws that top left leg head kick. Holy shit. Put fucking Daniel Cormier on Queer Street. Daniel fell backwards. Jon Jones did something really cool. Go watch the replay. He does one of these, like, what am I going to throw? What am I going to throw? And bam, comes with that left hand, shoots. Daniel falls backwards, throws the knee at him. Daniel trips to the ground. Jon's on top of him like a fucking spider to an insect, and he just knocks the shit out of him. Now, John McCarthy, people are saying, oh, well, Jon, they let Jon hit too many times, or because he punched him, I got to say, a good 4 or 5 times after Daniel was already knocked out. But, you got to know, this is a light heavyweight fight. This is for everything. All the fucking marbles. You got the 2 baddest dudes on the planet. Dudes have woken up. Dudes have woke up before him, out of that and came back. I mean, there's Czech Congo Pat Barry. There's fights where dudes always get lit up. They wake up and like, oh, fuck, and they keep going. This wasn't the case. Daniel was out. The only reason I think that John McCarthy didn't actually stop the fight right away is because you had Jon Jones' hips behind Daniel Cormier, and as he's hitting him, he's thrusting his hips into the butt of Daniel Cormier, moving Daniel forward into the cage, and it looks like Daniel's trying to move. He's knocked out. Jon Jones is moving and putting all of his weight into his head. So that's the fight. That was the 3rd round. Jon Jones winner. New, and again, thanks Bruce Buffer for that. He said, and new, and again, the UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, Jon Jones. So that's what happened there, man. It's a fucking great fight. Definitely lived up to the hype. It didn't fail expectation like some fights, Tyron Woodley and Wonderboy Thompson too. It didn't fall behind to where it was just so lackluster nobody wanted to see it. So who's next for Jon Jones? What are we thinking? Are we thinking that we're going to go with a WWE, WWF? It's WWF, motherfucker. I grew up with that. Fuck that. WWF. We're going to go with Brock Lesnar, by the way, who said he's retired back in January. So the commission stopped his suspension at that time. And since he didn't reactivate himself, they have to wait 6 months if he wants to fight ever in the UFC again. Well, I don't know if Jon Jones knew that or not. He really didn't even know how this shit came to be about, just talking shit. Now it's become a fight, and really it's because Jon Jones needs money. At least that's what he said in the post-fight press conference. Who's the better fight for him? Brock Lesnar, so he can go up weight. I think they should both be able to juice. Let them both fucking throw something in their arms, get big as fuck. And that'd be fun, but that's not going to happen. Or who's the guy that gave gave Jon Jones the toughest time? Alexander Gustafsson. You're looking at a guy who has basically, he's the guy that went to the decision with Jon Jones. He's the one that almost had the belt and Jon got worried about in the decision. He's the guy that a lot of people still to this day argue that did beat Jon Jones. I definitely think that Jon Jones won that fight by decision. But, I mean, what do we know? That happened back in 2013. They've both evolved since then by leaps and bounds. That was UFC 165. You're looking at, excuse me, 2 of the baddest dudes on the planet at that time. Since then, Gustafsson's been put out a couple times. I mean, you had Anthony Rumble Johnson lay his ass out. Daniel Cormier beat his ass up. He's definitely not the caliber of fighter. But, I mean, in the reality of it, what do we got there? We got a guy who's, he's the guy that almost beat the current champ. So what do? We probably go with that. I do want to bring in this idea then, who's another guy just to think who actually shined on UFC 214, Volkan Ozdemir. Who the fuck is that guy? Nobody knows who the fuck he is or where he came from. All of a sudden, you got Volkan Ozdemir comes in here against Jimmy Manuwa. We're jumping over to that fight really quick because he puts out Jimmy Manuwa in 2 minutes of the first round. Knocks his ass out. Who saw that shit coming? That right there, 100% was his introduction of like, hey, don't forget about me. We'll jump back to that after in a minute. However, let's move on to the co-main event. Co-main event, you got Tyron Woodley versus Cowboy Cerrone. With this fight, you didn't know what to expect. I was hoping for a knockout, thinking Cowboy's going to have his stand-up kickboxing style of fight. Also has good takedown defense and good jiu-jitsu. The motherfucker's a bad dude. You got Tyron Woodley. He's a wrestler with... I just fucking jumped into 2 different whole fights. I don't even know why I did any of that. Let's reverse this. Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia. Holy shit. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, starting to get confused. Sorry, excuse me for that one. But Tyron Woodley wins Damian Maia by decision, 5 rounds, 60 strikes thrown, the least in UFC history. One of the most boring fights I think I could watch, right there next to Tyron Woodley versus Wonderboy 2. I can respect it out of the fact that it's 2 mixed martial arts dudes, the baddest dudes on the planet, going at each other. You got one guy gets you down, he's a snake on you. He's never going to let go. You get one guy touches you with his hand, and you could be put out. So the fact that you got Damian Maia shooting in 17-plus times in this fight, you're definitely I got to give Tyron Woodley his props. The fact that he didn't get taken down the whole time. I do have to give him his props as a mixed martial artist. You, sir, are the best at your weight. You're boring as fuck right now, though, because you're doing what GSP did towards the end of his career. You're doing that, I need to save my belt, I have a legacy. Nobody cares that you have a legacy until you actually have a legacy. If you don't go after it and build your legacy, then who the fuck cares if all you keep saying is, I'm building my legacy, I want to be the greatest, I'm going to be... Yeah, but you can hold the belt and make the most boring fights, run away from dudes. If you're going to Mayweather your fucking life in the round, that's not why people watch MMA. That's not why mixed martial arts and UFC has become something. That's not why Bellator people watch it. That's not any of that shit. They watch boxing when they're fucking... when they want to watch some boring shit like we're going to watch on August 28th when Floyd Mayweather runs in fucking circles with Conor McGregor. So what are we looking at now? We're looking at Tyron Woodley, who just defeated Damian Maia by decision. Whoopity fucking do. Who's next? Well, this is why I got confused earlier. Because Robbie Lawler and Cowboy Cerrone fought. And Robbie Lawler took Cowboy Cerrone to decision. And that was a good fight. It was 3 rounds of just... I mean, I wanted 2 more rounds. I thought it was badass. They knew what they were there for, to fight, throw them hands. But really, Robbie's a former champ, hasn't been active in a year. After being knocked out by Woodley, wanted his head and cerebral status to be perfect, which I think was a great idea. So I think the next person in line after the performance of Robbie versus Cowboy should be Robbie Lawler, just to give him that title comeback, because Rory McDonald's in Bellator now. He's no longer in the mix. Of course, he's one of the baddest on the planet who got let go by UFC. Santiago Ponzinibbio. That is a guy who's on a 5-fight win streak in the division, and he's just a bad motherfucker. I mean, he's in the rankings. He's on the middle part of the rankings. I want to say he's number 6, maybe 7. Then you got Colby Covington, who's a 4-fight streak. That dude's got 2 decisions, 1 submission, 1 knockout. And talk about a dude he's got it. He's got what we need right now. A dude throws hands, but he's a well-rounded guy. Somebody against Woodley who's going to make him fight. Not just a takedown artist. Not just a knockout artist. We need somebody well-rounded, and he could be that guy. He's 12-1. He might be an idea. So other than that, I think that fight was 100% boring, but I mean, whatever. That's our fight. That's what we do. Next, we're going to go ahead and break down Cyborg, her fight versus Tanya Evinger. Chris Cyborg won that by decision. Not by decision. By 3rd round knockout. Getting distracted by people outside. And with that, I mean, we all knew that was what was going to happen. I was surprised that Tanya Evinger actually stayed in the fight for 3 rounds. That's a bad woman, dude. She's definitely somebody to look out for. Noticeable mention for her, she's the one that made out with the girl interviewer after she won the belt in Invicta. Ow! So, all right. Now, Cyborg won. She's the official 145 women's champion. And who's in the running? Well, nobody wants to fight Chris Cyborg, and they're all fucking scared, which is understandable. I'd be scared. Most people would be scared. I'm really thinking that, just like Dana said, Holly Holmes is your best bet. She's just coming off of a win, beating Betch Correa in the 3rd round by knockout. She got performance of the night that night, and she's a stand-up kickboxer. I think she gives a good trouble to Chris Cyborg. I think she's actually one who can give her a run for her money. So, honestly, if Holly Holmes would have been the champ after that decision loss that she got to start the 145 division, this shit would already happen, and we would be talking about it weeks ago. However, seeing as though it's still not happened yet, and it is happening, Cyborg didn't look hurt at all. She looked fine. Holly Holmes, if you watch her on Instagram, she seems fine. She's happy. She doesn't have any injuries. So I could see this fight being one of those end-of-the-year fights, being as though we're in just getting into August. September, October, November, December. Yeah, you got 3-4 months there. I could see that being the UFC end-of-the-year card for the belt. Right there with Joanna Jędrzejczyk being on that too, because I don't know when she's fighting next. All right, so let's talk about Jimmy Manuwa versus Volkan Ozdemir. The fight of which I brought him up earlier, saying that Volkan should be the guy who fights Jon Jones coming up next, just because either that or Alexander Gustafsson. But who the fuck is Volkan Ozdemir? Who knew who the fuck this guy was? I mean, I'd heard of him, but I was like, Jimmy Manuwa's fighting him. Jimmy Manuwa was the backup for Jon Jones in case Jon Jones decided to go sandblast hookers, Daniel. And honestly, I expected that Jimmy Manuwa was going to knock this dude out in the 1st round. Well, Volkan Ozdemir, he's on a 5-fight win streak. The dude came in from Bellator, from SHC 10, from WFCA Grand Prix. The motherfucker's active. He comes into UFC. I want to say this is his 3rd fight in the UFC. His first fight was against Ovin St. Preux, who he beat by decision. Then his second fight was against Misha Serkovanov. Anyways, he beat that motherfucker, knocked him out in the second fight. Then he fights Jimmy Manuwa and knocks him out 1st round in the first 2 minutes of his 3rd fight in the UFC. Let's just say this. If the UFC doesn't put him next for the title fight, being the way the division is set up right now and the guys who have fought each other, Rumble Johnson's out, but he was at the fights and he was doing interviews. He was actually on the interview card. Volkan Ozdemir or Alexander Gustafsson in the next 3 to 6 months for Jon Jones. Jon doesn't look too hurt. He could fight again. And before this whole Lesnar bullshit gets brought up. So that's what I think. Those are my thoughts. I didn't do very good on the card when to my choices. It was fucking opposite day. So actually I ended up moving up 200 people. I'm like 5,300 in the world on UFC Fight Pass Fantasy. My wife did better than me on that. I got a buddy of mine I'm in a league with. There's only 3 of us that do it, my wife and him, and he has actually beat me on this card too. I completely had horrible picks. It happens. Can't win them all, but still doing good overall. And follow my Instagram page. It's Ralph's Pound for Pound Breakdown. You'll see all my picks, and then after I'll post side by side before and after what fighter, what way they're going to win, submission, knockout, decision, and also what round. I do Facebook, but it's Sacktown OG, and Twitter is Sacktown OG. Just go to Instagram, Ralph's Pound for Pound Breakdown. Also, subscribe, like, share, all this YouTube stuff. I'm just a fan trying to do it. I do train a bit. I'm not trying to be a fighter, but I definitely know what I'm talking about when it comes to this shit. So all those people out there saying, oh, you're a fat dude not knowing how to train. Yeah, motherfucker. Cool. Whatever. All I'm saying is I'm doing it and you ain't. Stay up, people out there in the world. One love. I'm Ralph. Ralph's Pound for Pound Breakdown. Calling it out. Peace.